Okay, hello, we are live.
Hello.
Hi, welcome to our The Bane Chronicles live show, and here we are. I'm Laia, and this is my co-host Bianca. I'm like, okay, here we go.
Hello. Thank you for joining us and for all of the participation. This month we had the Baneathon, like a
hmm
weekend read along to read the books, and we did some fun, like lifestyle prompts. We both vlogged it and had a lot of fun. But anyway, just wanted to say that the book club and live show are a safe space and everyone's welcome. We also expect everybody to be respectful and kind. That was a bit of a tongue twister this time, even though I've said it like probably 5 times
So
this
many
year.
times. hmm It's okay. It's okay. It's a lot. Okay, so yes, I actually forgot about the Baneathon until you just said that. But yeah, we had some prompts and it was quite nice just to participate in it. And I still need to end my vlog for that actually and upload that. But yeah.
Mine's all edited and I think I exported it today, so I think I'm going to try schedule it for this week.
hmm
Uh, there's not a lot of reading in that vlog though, so but there we go.
It's okay. It's kind of more about the prompts as well, like rather than
Yeah,
the reading.
yeah.
So yeah. My dog is just like she can't find her perfect little place to lie down. She's like here and then she's there and then she's here. Anyway, sorry. Yeah. So I shall upload that soon. We should actually try to do it the same day. That would be cool.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any general thoughts?
Um, just like generally, I was a bit demotivated to read the book, not because of the book, but just because of the timing of my life. So that impacted my ability to get through the book, sadly. But overall, I really enjoyed it when I actually like sat down and kind of made myself read. I think all of the short stories were really well written and really funny. Um, yeah, and I keep forgetting that she wrote it with other people.
hmm
Um, but I think if I do read it again in future, I might try to pick up on the different people that she wrote it with and their styles and maybe look into what other things they've written just out of curiosity's sake.
hmm
But yeah, not really too many general thoughts. And
Okay.
unless you want me to go through like each short story, because I like made little notes on each
Okay, let's
one.
do that after. Not after, but like after I give my general and then we go through each short story.
Okay, that
Okay,
sounds
so
good.
in general, I also really struggled to get through the book, but also not because of the book. This book took me almost 3 weeks to read, which is insane. I like hardly ever take that long with a book, but it's because I feel like I at least have like some kind of reading burnout at the moment happening. I'm really, really struggling to read.
Yeah,
And uh, what genre is this book? Fantasy? No,
urban fantasy.
no fantasy. It's a lot harder to get through than contemporary, so that's also part of the reason. Even though I do enjoy the book and did enjoy the book, it's still harder to get through and still like takes longer to read. Which I was quite surprised about because I thought I'd read it quite fast, because the stories are like fast paced, they aren't slow, and I do enjoy them. But oh well, I enjoy taking my time with the book as well. Like I enjoyed not having to rush it,
Yeah,
but
I'm
taking
glad
my
we
time.
pushed it out a week so that we could actually spend time with
Read.
it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And then as far as the like individual short stories go, I really like them all. Like I honestly really like them and I really liked reading in the past, like the past characters that we already know, and even some that we don't particularly know, but that I know because I've read um, Chain of Gold and Chain of Iron, but then seeing them like introduced now and part of that story being revealed for the first time. That was pretty cool. And I did think the short stories were very funny, like they were very witty and very funny. And like I've said before, this book is the reason that I love Magnus Bane so much because you really get to see his personality and see who he is as a person, and then find out that he's actually like this really funny guy, but also like so caring, and he has like the biggest heart.
I love reading from his perspective, kind of. So I'm sorry we don't get to see that a lot in the other books. I don't know if we even do ever really see that much from Magnus's point of view. Like I can't think off
I
the
don't
top of my
know.
like
I
it's
don't think
mostly
so.
Shadow Hunters and sometimes Maya. Uh,
Hmm.
so and even in the books we read recently was mostly seeing like Alex's point of view, and how he was dealing with their breakup and stuff, and now we got to see Magnus's, which was really great.
Hmm.
Yeah, I do have
The
a few other.
voice notes, the voice notes was so funny, or the voicemail,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
funny. Okay, just some notes I made, like general notes, is that I don't know if you noticed, but you know the story of the necklace, like that we've been talking about throughout some live shows now.
yeah.
Um, I really kind of enjoyed that we got to learn the story of the necklace backwards. So we first got to see it with Isabel, who it's with now, and then we got to like the story was like revealed backwards, and then in this one, there was something about the necklace. I can't remember exactly, but then the whole
Like
story kind of makes sense.
yeah, Magnus reveals like how he got it because we just knew like until this point that he'd given it to Camille, but in this book
Hmm.
he says like he bought it for like a lot of money or whatever. So I
Hmm.
thought maybe he like enchanted it or something, but now we
Hmm.
found out that he bought it specifically for her.
Yeah,
So
and then it was so funny. He also then in one of the last short stories commented on. He was like, "I wonder what Isabel would think if she knew that her
yeah,
necklace was originally intended for a vampire."
yeah,
And he was like, "Maybe I'll tell her one day."
yeah. It
So
was
I really like that.
yeah,
And then also just another thing is that we don't really know James yet at this point. This is our first introduction to James, and James gets painted as like a bad person, kind of in a way, not as who he really is. But then they did say like he's normally not like this, he's normally like this and this, but now we see this like bad side of him instead of seeing the good side of him first.
mhm,
So
mhm.
we see his troubled side before we ever get to know his good side or his true, like how he really is, because he is actually like a quiet and shy kind of person.
Yeah.
No other thoughts? Okay.
Like I have a few things to say about James. Like James is my baby, and like the what is that trilogy called? The Last Hours is my favorite so far. So I was really excited to see him, and um, yeah, like it's interesting that Magnus kind of met him before. I'm assuming it's before the events of The Last Hours happened. Um, and like things that we know now because of having read The Last Hours, and Magnus could have done something about it.
No, no, wait, I just want to stop you quickly. I don't think it is before because in the short story, James shoots the gun, and in the last hours, we
Oh,
discover
is when
him.
he gets
We
it.
like learn how he manages to get the gun to work, and we see him shooting a gun for the first time. So it's not before the events. It's after he's already gotten the gun to work. Because remember, then Lucy and them tried to shoot the gun and it wouldn't work. Only he could.
Right. But they didn't specify anything about the gun in this one. So it could have just been a mundane one. But like the point of that gun is that it's ruined
Mm-hmm.
and the bullets are ruined. But
I'd like to assume it's the same one, but maybe
yeah,
it's not. I don't know.
it'll be
And
interesting
then
because I don't know when that would have happened then in between.
then I also made a note about Edmund Herrendale. I really liked seeing him, like Will's father, and Will meeting Will's mother. I really like that, seeing that. And then I also just noticed that the dark features, the dark, like blue eyes, black hair kind of thing, that a lot of the shadow hunters after that generation have, and then it's kind of a recurring theme. All those features started with the mundane because Will's mother had those features and she's a mundane. And so it's funny how like these mundane features have been passed down to so many
Mm,
shadow hunters. I just thought
yeah,
that's cool.
it is really cool.
Yeah, and then I
Even
just took a
Alec,
oh yeah,
Alec got it from her as well.
exactly.
Yeah.
So and then I just took a picture of my favorite quote because now throughout quite a few live shows I've mentioned my favorite moment in the Bane Chronicles, and so I had to take a photo of it. And it says Alec kissed him back with shattering enthusiasm, and Magnus thought, "Yes, this one fits." After all the stumbling around and searching, and here it is. So that's like my favorite moment in like all of Shadowhunters is that moment.
That's a really cute
After
one.
all searching, here it is, and then as a Shadowhunter. So I really like that.
Yeah, me too.
Okay,
Okay.
that was all I had.
Do you want me to go through my little notes that I made?
And then I'll kind of add my opinions too.
Okay.
I have the book here, I'm going to look at the chapters.
Okay. So the first story was what really happened in Peru.
Oh, I
Uh,
love that story so much. I'm sorry. I really love that story. It's so funny.
and we get to see Ragnar, which was
Mm-hmm.
really fun. There's a fly. It's fly season in Australia, if you guys don't know, and it's horrible. There's just flies all over the place. Anyway, um, and there was like a bunch of timelines in that story. It was like kind of like two or three, maybe
Mm-hmm.
three
I think it was 3.
sort of stories in it. And I just made some notes of things I found interesting. So like that warlocks stop aging after 20 because I don't think it was specified until now how old they look because in my mind I've always imagined them a bit older, like in their 30s.
Sorry.
Maybe. Bless you.
Sorry. Yeah, there was also a part in one of the later short stories that said Tessa doesn't look a day over 25.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So they'd be kind of like our age looking.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to adjust that, especially for Ragnar, because I don't know, I always imagined him
No,
and
but it's not all warlocks. Different warlocks stop aging at a different time. Because remember the story with that other warlock in it, and he stopped aging at like age 50. So it's different for everyone. But I think Magnus was like in his early 20s.
okay. Yeah. Um I managed to do a bunch of interesting stuff and I had to Google a few things like the Nazca lines. Like I went and Googled what they actually look like and they look really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I think he alluded to his mother killing herself, which
Mm-hmm.
is pretty rough. Um, and I don't think we found out why he was banned from Peru. Like he never really
Oh
said
no,
like
but that's the
ending.
funny part. Wait,
Yeah.
it's like, I love it. It's like, to this day, whatever it is that actually got him banned from Peru is, and perhaps must always remain, a mystery. After all this, and then even in previous books, he like mentioned that he's banned from Peru. So
And we thought we were gonna find out, and then I kept being like, "So is this what happened?" No, and then he just never tells us. And I
that
think
he
my
doesn't
favorite,
know either.
yeah, um, I think my favorite parts were that he was like trying to learn an instrument for that boy, and then him just running away with Kitty, and that just sounded like so much fun. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Oh,
what
that
did you?
part.
Yeah,
Yeah. I really like that story because of Katerina who's in it. I really like Katerina's part. And my favorite part is the part where they're in the jungle and then Magnus like gets lost on his own and then this like killer monkey comes after him.
is
Yeah.
that also the one with the magic carpet? He made a magic carpet,
No.
didn't he? And
Oh
then he,
yes, yes, he got
yeah,
drunk.
yeah, and then he puked like on the Nazca
Mm-hmm.
lines or whatever.
Yeah,
It was
it
funny.
is. He got drunk and enchanted a carpet.
Yeah, so we kind of
It's
got to see
funny.
his like early misadventures. And
Mm-hmm.
is that also the one where he was kind of making up his age?
Like he made up his age throughout the whole book. He like keeps changing his age.
Yeah,
And
that
then like
was
seeing and then being like um telling someone he knew this historical person and then Katerina's like, no you didn't. So because he did say Katerina's the only one who knew his exact age, his actual age.
it was fun.
That was a fun story. I really like that story.
Me too. And then the second one was the Runaway Queen.
I love that
And
story too. I really like these stories.
I loved that setting. It was in Paris. And we got to see a bit of the extravagance of Versailles. And like, I loved his little thing he had going with Axel.
Yeah.
Um, and the one thing I remember distinctly from that story was the balloon and him
Mhm.
and Marie Antoinette being on the
Mhm.
balloon together, and I can just visualize that in my mind so well. And I've always wanted to go on a hot air balloon, so yeah,
Yeah.
I love the aesthetics of that one the most.
Mhm. Me too. I really enjoyed that story too. And then I liked how he got a monkey and then named the monkey Ragnar.
Yeah,
I shall name him Ragnar.
that's very Pirates of the Caribbean though. Like that's literally what Barbosa does. He also has a monkey, and then his kind of enemy is Jack. And then like he's like on the boat and talking, and then he's like, "Come on, Jack," and then he's like, "No, no, we named the monkey Jack." So it's like a whole thing. So
Mhm.
that really made me think of that. Um, but I really wonder what happened to the monkey because, oh, but anyway,
Probably got old.
yeah,
Something.
I'm very sad.
Mhm.
Um, then after that, we had Vampire Scones and Edmund Herrendale.
Mhm.
So that was like when Magnus met Camille for the first time, and that was really interesting seeing him fall in love with her. And then it was quite chivalrous of him. I don't even know what the word is. Like him telling to Camille, like, this werewolf is in love with you and he deserves to have his chance with you, and we're immortal so we can find each other whenever again. Like I really liked
Mhm.
that he did that. um and I also really hated all of the shadow hunters in that story.
Mhm. Because that's the one where what
They were the
Starkweather Aldous. Well, no, what's his name? Something Starkweather. And he's
Yeah,
that horrible one that ended up being Tessa's grandfather.
yeah, yeah. And um we like they kept having the dinners and talking about the scones, and then Edmund told him that the older Shadowhunters threw away all of the plates that the Downworlders ate on, and like, uh,
So I find it cool that now we got to actually see that story, and then in one of the previous books, Magnus mentioned it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I also, I don't know. I pictured Edmund being like looking like Will as well, so it was interesting seeing that he was blonde, and then that comes out again later in the Herrendale line because most of them are blonde now.
Mm-hmm.
So
And then that's why I made a note about liking seeing Edmund Herrendale and that those features came from a mundane. But then I think the blonde came out again, but then the children like split, and now different families have those features because of like marrying and stuff. And now like for example, um Isabel and Alec are Lightwoods. They aren't Herondales, and they have those features as well as Julian. Oh, the Blackthorns also now have those features, and it all came from a mundane, which I find pretty cool.
yeah. Okay. Then the next story was The Midnight Air, which was James, his thing. I also said something there about James and his gun.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to see Will, Tessa, and Jem all together again. And
Oh, that was cute.
yeah.
And I
And
loved also seeing Will as a father. He's
yes.
like, Lord, help me with this child. Give me strength to deal with James.
And like I love those moments that they had where James was like, I know who you are. My father always talked about you, and the fact that Will like just is a good person, and he spoke about like Magnus after all of the things that happened, and he still thinks of him as a friend, and he didn't let like all of the other people around him influence what he'd say. And yeah, like he didn't
Mm-hmm.
try to convert Tessa into being only a shadow hunter. He still respects the downworld part of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
um Yeah. And then Magnus gets to meet Grace. So we already can see there that like something's really up with her because of how she just enchants people with what she looks like, and he thinks there's something fishy up with it.
Mm-hmm.
So
And then
yeah.
even Grace said she was like, she asked her mom or Tatiana, like, what's wrong? Why is it not working? And then it's like kind of a hint
Yeah. Yeah.
that we find out in Chain of Iron.
How are we going to wait a whole year for the next book? I'm so stressed.
Well, we're still rereading
Yeah.
everything, and we'll probably only finish in like the end of next year, so that's fine.
Okay. Fair. Fair. Okay. Then after that, we had the rise of the Hotel du Mort, or was it? Yeah. Um, and then we got to see Magnus's speakeasy, which was really fun. And I loved like when the police came in, he turned it into like a tea house, and everyone was
It
drinking
was a
tea.
book. It was a book, like a book club thing. They all had
Yeah,
a book,
books and
a
tea.
book circle, and he called it a book circle.
Yeah, it was really cute. And then we also had some darker themes there because I guess you like the recession or whatever happened in America, and a bunch of people were trying to kill themselves. And the warlock, like the head warlock of New York, went cuckoo and made like a
Oh,
went into the Hell
was that the
dimension.
drugs? Was that the drug one?
No, that's not the drug one. That was just
Oh,
like when I can't remember what you call this time in history, but it's a really important time in history, and like I don't know,
it's not
everybody
the
lost their money.
depression,
Yeah, I don't know what it's
the
called, but
Great
like
Depression or something. But oh, that was when the stock market fell.
yeah, yeah, pretty
Mhm.
much. And then they were all like committing suicide, and then at that time, Aldous however you say his name, he
Mhm.
went to the hotel and he opened up the portal,
Mhm.
and I just felt a bit meh about that story overall. I was just kind
Mhm.
of like, we're not really seeing the characters that I like, and I expected Raphael to be in the story, but he wasn't. It's only in the next one, so
Mhm.
I got a bit like slumpy after that story.
I didn't mind it. I
Um,
kind of liked the whole like drug thing because I knew because I remembered that he would come home to these like drugged up vampires just in his apartment, and then so I didn't mind that story.
okay, but that was only like 2 stories later.
Oh, I keep getting the two confused.
That
That
one was
was
just fun, and the
so
demon.
this one's the rise of the hotel, and the other one is the
Yes,
fall.
the fool. Yes.
I keep getting them confused. Yeah.
And then in between, we had Saving Raphael Santiago, and then
Mhm.
Magnus was a detective, which was really cool at the beginning. He's like
Mhm.
a detective.
But that was like this little note, and then you never saw that again.
Yeah, but it was fun.
Mhm.
Um, and then we got to see Raphael and Magnus and their relationship, or like the only time they really had a relationship, because they
Mhm.
reference it in the other books, like kind of.
Mhm. And how it all started with Raphael.
Yeah, and we got to see like
And we
how,
also.
yeah,
Mhm.
how he can
Um.
like, say God's name and wear his cross and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. And also, in the last book we read, the previous book, Raphael got killed by Sebastian, and he said, did he not say like it's because he owes Magnus something or something along those lines?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And now we
that
know
was,
why he owes Magnus. And then at the end of that short story, he tells Magnus, I'll never forget this, and I'll
yeah.
always owe you. And that was like quite touching because the whole time you think Raphael just doesn't care, and then when he whispers that into Magnus's ear, that he's like, he'll never forget this and he'll always owe him. Like you can actually see that it did mean something to him.
Mhm. Yeah, that was a nice story, and it nearly made me cry. I didn't cry in that one yet. I only cried later. Um, but yeah, and
Mhm.
then the next one, the Fall of the Hotel du Mort. I just wrote here the vampires are on drugs, and yeah, so it was mostly just them being crazy and like attacking everybody, and like they can't get high from drugs, so they take blood from drugged up humans, so that's how they got
Mhm.
high. And Raphael wasn't there, so it was just Magnus being kind of awkward with Camille and still wanting to help everybody. And then in the end, after he fixed it, and they all like went through withdrawal, I guess, to like sober up, he asked Katerina to wipe his memories of Camille. So there's like a whole like timeline now that Magnus doesn't remember.
Mhm.
So
My
like,
favorite part of that book was how Magnus was the hero, like obviously because it's about him, but how he just like managed that situation and saved all the vampires and stuff. So I
yeah,
really like that. But then I kind of find it weird that he like just didn't have those memories of Camille anymore because at the end he was it says something about him not quite remembering a vampire named Camille or something about along those lines. But I think in the previous stories when he tells the story of Camille, he knows who she is and what they've been through.
yeah, I
So
don't
maybe
know
it's just the like drug part that
it
he
was
got
like
wiped.
the way I understood it was like the 1900s times, because that was like in the 80s. So it wiped it from like the beginning of the 1900s to like the 80s. So like 80 years roundabout. Because I think that was like after he left her, and then maybe they ran into each other a bunch of times, and he just doesn't want to remember
Mm,
that.
wait. Um,
Are you fact checking?
no, I'm not fact checking. I'm just. It says. Oh, she just says, "Have you heard anything about Camille recently?" Camille, I haven't seen her in at least 80 years, something like that. Why are you asking about Camille? No reason. Her name just popped into my mind.
Yeah, so it was like 80 wipe. Yeah. Then after that, we had a
What to
more like
buy the Shadow Hunter who has everything and who you're
yeah,
not officially dating anyway.
yeah. It was so cute.
I love this story.
Yeah, me too. I really like the last three stories the most, I think. Well, yeah.
Hmm.
And I loved how he like was kind of anxious and he called all of his friends asking for their opinion because he comes across as kind of all knowing to all of the shadow hunters all the time, and like we expect him to know what to do all the time, but sometimes he's just like the rest of us and nervous and not knowing what to do. Um
Hmm.
yeah, and like there was that whole little moment with Isabel coming over. That's really cute. And his phone call with Raphael made me laugh a lot. Pretty sure. Yeah, because
What happened?
he was teasing him for something. Like Raphael was always
Uh,
making fun of him and
hmm.
like um talking about like his friendship with Ragnar and like shoving it kind of in Magnus's face ever since they met.
Hmm.
So I don't know, it was funny. And he also thought about Will in that story, which
Hmm.
was cute.
Yeah,
Mm.
it is cute. For some weird reason, like I did like those stories, but I really liked reading about the past. And then when we were reading about like the present, or well, the present that we're in currently in the series, um, I was like, like I don't know, it just didn't feel the same because I was really enjoying reading about the past for some reason, which is very unlike me. So I don't know.
We kind of swapped
Maybe I've
roles.
just maybe I've just like had enough of these characters or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
But it was really cute to see the beginnings of Alec and Magnus. And but what's really strange to me is that the last three stories go in the wrong order. So like the first one is like the oldest, well not the oldest, but like the most recent.
Yeah.
Then the second last is like, and then the last story of the whole book is like before all of that happened. So it's like in a weird order.
Yeah, we started going back in time there in the end, and I was like,
Yeah, I
okay,
didn't enjoy that. I like wished we would go that it wasn't like that, that it was in time order,
okay.
because I would have rather read about Alex's birthday after reading about um like their first date.
I don't know. I kind of disagree because I really liked the last story, and it made me happy to end the book on that note, I guess.
I guess that's what she was doing. She wanted to end the book on the like best short story.
Yeah.
I just didn't like the change in timeline. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get you. Um, okay, well, the third last, I guess, story was The
Hmm.
Last Stand of the New York Institute, and there we get to see Magnus interacting with the Circle, Valentine. It's like he meets them for the first time, and he meets Stephen Herrendale, he meets the Lightwoods, he meets um, Luke, but he's like they call him Lucian there, so he kind of seems like a different person. Jocelyn's not there, um, and we kind of see how Valentine just wipes out a whole family. Like I'm pretty sure that bloodline ends there,
Yeah, the white
and
laws.
yeah, and like his circle I don't know, they care to some extent, but they're so brainwashed at this point. Like they're kind of just like, what did we do? But not in a kind of way where they were like they still did it, you know, like they could have
They
stopped
didn't
themselves.
reconsider their
Yeah.
actions.
Yeah, they just went for it, and then they were just like, we're gonna get into trouble, but they still did it. They still killed a whole family.
Hmm.
So
For me, it was really weird seeing all those characters who we know as adults, seeing them as teenagers, seeing where they came from. It was a bit heartbreaking
yeah,
seeing the type of people they were, what they were doing, and it like really sucked a bit seeing them like that.
yeah,
Especially um, Isabel and Alex, like Mayrus, seeing Mayrus just vicious, like mean, and realizing Stephen Herrendale was not a nice person. And Jace has been like agonizing over his father and like that silver box he's gotten, saying he doesn't feel a connection, he doesn't know his father, and then to find out his father wasn't a nice person. Because
mm,
I feel like the others felt regret to an extent, but Stephen didn't. Stephen was just extremely harsh. So, like, Stephen was more like Valentine than Luke was, you know,
yeah,
even though Luke was his Parabatai.
yeah.
So
He
it's kind
seemed
of like heartbreaking for Jace.
he
Yeah.
seemed really brainwashed to me, because Magnus even noted a couple of times that the things he was saying sounds like he was copying or like parroting what somebody else had said. So like, uh, I don't know. Also, because I've been watching a lot of Criminal Minds lately with my parents, that's pretty much what we watch every single night. And you see what like happens when people spend time with psychopaths, and how it like influences your thought patterns. So
Hmm.
yeah,
No,
I can feel
yeah.
bad for him, but also be like obviously upset at all of the stuff that he did.
Yeah, I feel like um I'm not disagreeing that he's brainwashed. I think he is, but I feel like he just has some not darkness, but he has some like I don't want to say meanness because it doesn't sound harsh, like harshness. I don't know. He has some of that darkness in himself too. It's not only
Yeah,
brainwashing. That's what I'm trying to say. Like he
and
already kind of has it, and then he's brainwashed on top of that, whereas the others feel regret, they feel bad. They're like, what did we just do? You know?
yeah,
But he
I think
just
that's
doesn't.
quite typical of the Herondales, though. Like they are very good at putting up that kind of front. Like all of them that we've seen so far. Jace has a mean streak, and he can be really like bad. Um, Will was horrible as well when he thought he was protecting people. James is being a prick to everybody. Like even Edmund is kind of douchey. So we kind of see it in all
Yeah.
of them. They have
I
that
feel like
part.
yeah, I feel like Stevens was the worst though.
Yeah,
He really
because
kind of lost his humanity a bit.
yeah. So it was quite sad.
Hmm.
Uh, okay, and then the second half of that story, though, I was like, oh my goodness, because it goes directly into Magnus's house where he's sitting with Tessa and they're watching Pride and Prejudice, and I'm like, it has to be the Colin Firth edition or one of the older ones. It can't be the new one. And I was like, just watching them watch Pride and Prejudice was like so cute.
Was it in that story?
Yes, it was. And I was like, because it's pretty much the first half is that whole thing.
Yeah.
And then it goes into the second one. So it kind of
Where
shows,
Jocelyn comes.
yeah. So it shows
Mhm.
like Magnus interacting with the circle. And then he talks about what happened of the circle being disbanded. And then the after effects of the circle.
Of the
And like,
uprising.
yeah. Um, and like Jocelyn coming to him and asking for help. And
Hmm.
like his um evolution in that time frame of him meeting them dissolving and then still
Mhm.
having to face the people who were a part of it. And he actually found that whole thing with the werewolves really traumatic, and having to see the little girl be blinded and all of the shadow hunters just killing each other pretty much.
Mhm. If it
So
wasn't for Tessa, he wouldn't have said yes to Jocelyn.
yeah. So you get to see like him hating shadow hunters and then kind of getting a soft spot again for Clary.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was about that whole journey in
Yeah,
that
it's
story.
cool to see how that thing with Clary started.
It
Because you know
is.
about it obviously, but then to actually see it happen. And
Yeah.
then what I also just found so funny is that he like ordered Chinese or something, and then when the delivery man came, he just shoved $10 into his hand and closed the door without taking the food. Like it's such a small detail that I was just like, you could have taken the food. Like I just
Yeah.
imagine the delivery man standing there like,
And we also got to see like in one of the stories, Magnus was like, "I'm gonna get a cat," and then in this one, we saw one of his cats, the Great Gatsby,
hmm
which was cute, and like Clary pulling his tail and whatever.
I
And we
just
also
want to know why the Great Gatsby is not immortal, but then like Chem and Meow and I mean Church has been living
I
for
think it's
like
church
150 years.
because
Church has been living.
church's um church's Gem's cat.
I
So
know, but
I feel like maybe Tessa did something um to keep the cat
maybe,
around for Gem. Like that's like my head canon is like that's why Church is alive. Um
maybe.
because she was holding out for him.
But I swear
And one
Chem and Meow has also been alive long.
no.
I don't know.
Because the Great Gatsby was there like when Clary was a baby, and now after that, I'm assuming after that cat died, he got Chem and Meow.
hmm
And also that name, uh yeah, like he keeps the names relevant to like slightly recent-ish things.
hmm
And we get to see how Jocelyn picks the name Frey, which was really
hmm
emotional, and seeing like her um bonding with the warlocks after being married to psychopath. And like we also
hmm
got to see Magnus um developing sympathy for her and for Luke, and him realizing again that there are still some good shadow hunters. So yeah.
hmm
And it made me think of like how Cassie Clare planned this, like whether she planned the whole like name thing from the like beginning of the Infernal Devices, because that's where we met Tessa. And like I think when I read it, I was like, why do their names rhyme? It's like just doesn't she have imagination? Like for this, because the storylines were the same as well. I was like Tessa Gray,
hmm
Clary Frey, and then the two boys. But turns out she did it for a reason. So
hmm
it was interesting.
Yep.
Okay. Last story was the first date.
The course of true love and first dates.
Yes, it was so cute.
It was so funny. Oh. But then to see how Alec handled the whole situation with the werewolf, and then that he like didn't have prejudices against downworlders, like that's a big thing, especially because
Yeah,
of what he does later.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, and the thing I loved most probably about that story was seeing Alec from Magnus's point of view, because most other times we get to see him from like Clary's point of view or other people's like Simon's. But the way Magnus sees him, like my heart turned to mush. I couldn't deal with it. It was so cute.
Yeah.
Um, and there were a few quotes that I wrote out here. This was the only story I think where I wrote out like quotes.
Mhm.
So the one was, "You have a good heart under all the glitter," and I think Katerina said that. Maybe that was very cute.
Yeah.
Uh, and then, and the angel descended from on high and gave his chosen ones fantastic abs.
Yep.
That was when Alec took his shirt off because he spilled something on it.
Mhm.
Um, and then the butt song was hilarious. Like
Oh.
that whole scene on the subway, and both of them trying to like not laugh at it and trying to
Mhm.
like compose. And we find out in the end that they both actually thought it was funny. So
Mhm.
that was cute. And then the whole like mugger and the ninja scene was really cute as well. It's like, I didn't know you were a ninja.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was funny. And there was just like the most disastrous state, and then like just how Alex's eyes lit up when he was like, "Oh, it's a real emergency."
Uh-huh.
And the way like Magnus just faked out and he was like, "Oh, people have fake phone calls when they don't want to be on dates. Who would ever do that?"
I never thought of that. Mhm.
Oh, he was such a shit. And then he also said at some point, he liked how Alexander said the things that other people thought and never said. So we kind of see like why they get along so well, and
Mhm.
like, yeah. And I just wrote on this one thing, my heart. Like that's just what I wrote. So I don't know.
Yeah. It is
Yeah,
really cute.
yeah. It's probably my favorite story, just because it was just
Mhm.
fluff and
Mhm.
yeah, it was cute.
Yeah. It was cute. I wanted to
Um,
add something now, but I forgot.
it's okay.
That's helpful. But oh, I wanted to say you know that trilogy that there's still only two books? It's the Magnus and Bane. The Magnus and Alec trilogy where we follow them around.
Yeah.
Um like there's hope because this is not the end of Magnus and Alec and we get a whole trilogy just about them. So we
Yeah,
will still see them in the future.
it's very cute. And then, did your book have all the voicemails? Yes, you did.
Mhm.
Which one was your favorite?
Favorite voicemail.
Yeah, did you make note
Oh,
of any?
let me go look. They oh wait, I can think of it without even looking. The one where Isabel says that Church and Chairman Meow are desperately in love and you can't keep those cats apart. It's cruel and they need to see each other because the cats are so in love. So I think that was my favorite.
Yeah. I loved Simon's one
Hmm.
where he was clearly just like calling
He was
because he
eventually like, by this point, it's obvious that I was forced to make this voicemail.
yeah, and Raphael's was also really funny. I can't remember what did he even say. I don't
Let me
have the book
check.
with me, but his was really funny.
I'll
I
check.
think he always just references like Ragnar and stuff, and I'm just like, this is too funny how he's just like the salty friend who just like is mean to Magnus, but like, yeah,
Wait. Clary, Alec, Simon. Oh, Simon's is long. Um, where where is it? Maya even sent one.
yeah,
Um, oh. Greetings, Magnus Bane, High Warlock of Brooklyn, from Raphael Santiago of the New York Vampire Clan, loyal servant of our glorious Queen Maureen, forever may she reign in dark glory, and the future Prince Consort Simon, Babelicious Rock God. Like, we have to begin all our telephone calls in this manner now, including our nightly call to a place called Hot Topic.
Yeah, it was
It would
so
be
good.
needless to state, after this introduction, that I consider myself a damned soul. I have to
Oh,
carry on, it's just too funny. I am contacting you because our queen wished to send a summons to the shiny man who is Simon's friend. That is a quote. She adds that she supports you and she is a fan of much, I don't know how to say this, yaoi manga or something. I have no idea what that means, and I never wish to know. And then it like carries on and carries on.
yeah, that was very good.
I wanted to inform you that your esteemed colleague Raphael now owes me $10 due to a small bet that we made amongst ourselves on the subject of how that absurd license would end. Was it? I don't know how to say that word. Of course,
Liaison.
Ragnar will never. Of course, Ragnar will never pay me my $10 because he was murdered by the Nephilim due to a conflict between Nephilim that Downworlders were for some reason embroiled in, just like the conflict we are currently having. So I suppose you could say that Ragnar died for nothing. Shadowhunters, could their new motto be something like, not worth the bother?
I just love Raphael's sense of humor. He's just like,
Mm-hmm.
it's
A
too
little
good.
bitter
Yeah.
boy. Yeah,
Um,
but that was funny.
that's all that I
Yeah,
kind of
that's
say.
all. That's the end. So I honestly love this book. Like, I love this book. And this book is one of, if not my favorite Shadowhunter books. And yeah, all the stories are just so good. And I have heard people say they don't like this book, and I honestly don't understand why. Because, like,
Ne-
the stories just, yeah,
Yeah.
they're good.
Also, this was like the first book that has actually made me really wish I had a highlighter because I wanted to highlight scenes. So I was like,
Like quotes and stuff, because Magnus is just so good. That's why I love Magnus. And then, like, I just love that we like just get to know him so well and stuff. So,
yeah,
and
I
then,
love
like, a few times it's mentioned that he just sends sparks into the air or between his fingers to like scare people off or like warn them. And I think that's pretty cool. Just like
it.
blue sparks.
Yeah. And there was this one, like the 80s one, where like they described his full outfit, and I was like so there for it with his silver dots and his pink hair and
I know.
everything. I was
Like
like, it was
silver dogs, jeans that were so big that if it wasn't for a tiny silver belt, they would have fallen off. And an oversized shirt that was so big that you could completely see his like collarbone and chest and stuff.
yeah, the
I
pink
loved I
mohawk.
like completely pictured that in my head and I was like, okay.
I was like, no, I want silver dogs. Why? Oh,
Yeah.
good time.
My favorite was the jean that was so big that if it wasn't for the tiniest silver belt, like he like described it like this thin little silver belt just holding this massive jean.
Yeah. Ah, goodness. Oh, but there was
It's
also
funny.
like quite a few times in this book where we got to see like people being discriminatory towards him because of his sexuality or like the way he presents himself. So
Mhm. Oh, in that like depression episode, I mean, short story, where um he was outside the HIV clinic in the beginning.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that was the drugs one.
No, the drugs one started with him on the airplane. This was the like depression one, the money fall one, because it happened at the same time as the HIV epidemic, I think.
I thought that was in the 80s, but okay.
Maybe I'm wrong. Like
That's
I said, I keep confusing those two stories. I
because
just
that's when
distinctly
he learned
remember the
that.
drugs one. Yeah, I
Mm,
just distinctly remember the drugs one starting with him on that aeroplane and the girl like walking past him like 5 times to the bathroom on the aeroplane to like sniff some stuff. I don't know what she was sniffing.
Cocaine.
Yes, it was cocaine. And then he was like, they put it in everything nowadays, even Coca-Cola.
Yeah. They actually did do that, which is
Yeah,
really...
but then he like commented on it.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was that story.
I don't know. Everything's slightly confusing in my brain. I tried to like write it down, but yeah.
You did a good job at it. Do you have a favorite story, or did you already say it was that first date with Alex?
Probably that one. And then from the historical ones, I like the Queen one. The Runaway Queen.
Oh, yes. I just want to check something quickly. I think for me it's really difficult to choose a favorite. I just want to check something.
I can pick a least favorite because it was like the rise of the hotel because I did not care much about anything other than the speakeasy. Everything else just got really depressed.
The speakeasy was cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think my favorite was What Happened in Peru was one of my favorites, like the first one. And then the one with the Queen I also really liked. Yeah, I think those two are my favorite.
Okay.
Yeah, even though I did really like the ones with Alec. Like I said, my favorite quote is from one of those, so I guess it has to be.
I think those last two made me cry. And like I can't say that the second last one is my favorite because I hated the first part of it, but I also really liked seeing Tessa in the second half. So there's like lots of moments that are like my favorite.
And then of course I really like the voicemails.
Yes.
They were funny.
Yeah.
Especially Isabel's. Isabel's was just the best.
Yeah, hers
And
were
the
really
time
good.
when she was like, according to some people, it may seem like I might have lost my mind.
And
Something
like
along those lines.
I love how like in this you can kind of see how good she and Simon go together because they're actually both really like witty as well, and you can see it how their sense of humor would go together. And even in the last book where he was wearing the leather pants and stuff, and they had that whole moment, and yeah, I just love them together as a couple. So.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Do you have a? Oh, you already said your least favorite.
Yeah. What about
Okay. Yeah,
you?
my least favorite was by far that when we saw the circle, like,
Okay.
and the killing the white laws and stuff, like that was my least favorite part. But I can't say the whole story because Tessa's part was part of that story. But then that first half of the story was my least favorite.
Okay.
Not because it's like bad, but because it
Yeah.
wasn't nice.
And yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't good. But I remembered everything that happened in it, whereas of that part. Like I distinctly remembered that part, and I remembered the a bits of the Peru before reading it again, I mean. And I remember the Queen with the balloon.
Same.
Yeah. And then like Raphael's bit a little. But
But
I
that's like
think
iconic.
yeah. I think it really makes a difference now after having read like the last hours and stuff and rereading this again because
I know
I'm
what
gonna
I was
remember.
thinking. Yeah, what I was thinking is that this is a good book to read after everything again. Like if
Yeah.
you finish all 18 or 19 or 20 or however many books there are, to read this one again. It's like a good book to read afterwards again.
Yeah. Agreed. And I think like now on the second time reading everything, I think I'll do better with some of the other short stories that we'll be reading in the future again. Like next we're gonna read Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy, which those are better, but like Ghosts of the Shadow Market. Sometimes I think when I read that and a couple of the other books, my brain was like, who's this? Who are you talking about? Like
Yeah, now it will make more sense because I
Yeah,
love Ghost of the Shadow Market. Like it's such a good book. So I think now that you know everyone and now you've like really formed a connection with Gem, because that whole book is
yeah,
just about Gem, I think it will mean way more.
yeah. Totally
Yeah.
agree.
So yeah. Anything else? Otherwise we can wrap it up.
I don't have anything else to add.
Okay. Um
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching if you did, and if you watched after the live, thank you. I hope you enjoyed. And we will both be uploading our Bane read along vlogs soon within the next week or something. So look out for those. And please join us for next month Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy.
Yes. And if you're not following us yet, you can find us on Instagram and Goodreads mostly at the Parabatai BC to join in on the discussions and not to miss any announcements. And also, Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy is going to be our last book of 2021. So,
Hmm.
going to take a
Yes.
break over December.
Yes, we're taking December off, which is very nice. Then we start January with a new trilogy, which is exciting. My favorite
Yes.
trilogy of them all, in fact. So it's going to be a good time. Okay, thank you so much. Bye.